Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Split, a young adult book review podcast for readers and writers. I'm Bryan Cohen, the author of the Ted Saves the World series. That, over there, is Robert Scanlon, the author of the Dreamer Chronicles in Australia, kicking it back with all his Australian friends. I don't know. How's it going today?
It's going too casual, Brian. Very casual. We're going to be heading down the beach a little bit later on.
Nice.
Special daddy daughter day today, so we're going to go for a dip, have some
nice.
lunch, and then we're going to go watch Penguins of Madagascar at the movies.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
How's Chicago treating you? Is the dystopia hit?
The dystopia, as portrayed in many books, is not as bad as the reality.
Thank goodness.
The reality, it is deep. That's the thing. In those books, they never portray Chicago during the winter. During the winter, they're all gonna die. They're just all gonna die. So without boots, without their heavy down coat, they're just gonna die, and that's how it goes. But that would make for a bad book, I suppose, if they just all died from the snow.
It'd be short.
It would be short. It's a novella. It's a short story. So today we're going to talk about a dystopia set in the Midwest called The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. As per normal, just going to describe the book. Then we're going to review it from a reader and writer perspective, do takeaways, and a prompt. So humanity never expected aliens quite like this. After 4 unexpected waves of attack exterminate most of humanity, Cassie is one of the few humans left on Earth. When the malicious visitors take on human form, Cassie must rely on a mysterious hunter to save her brother and preserve whatever scraps remain of civilization.
Ooh. What did you think?
I love the concept of this book. I mean, aliens figuring out what humans expect and then attacking them in the complete opposite way. Very cool. Action-packed. I like the characters too, the way the story was told. It was entertaining, and I think it'll keep readers excited. I have some more maybe contrary thoughts in the writer section, but as a reader, I mean, I was entertained. No deep. Someone posted a review on one of my books recently, said there was no deep revealing of human truths, and I think the same about this. There were no deep revealing of human truths, but it was entertaining. What did you think, Robert?
I'm totally with you on that. And it's interesting you pointed out the distinction between as a reader and as a writer, because I think that was where I think I sent you an email that said, I agree with both the 5-star and the 1-star reviewers. How is that possible? And I think probably the 1-stars are coming from the writer's perspective, where you do tend to read with a little bit more of an analytical mind. But you're absolutely spot on. As pure entertainment, it's fantastic. It's action-packed. It keeps going. I was a little thrown when the point of view changed suddenly from Cassie after so long in the story to switch over to Ben. But that was worth persevering, and I enjoyed that. The alien thing, sometimes as a reader, it's still crept in of, okay, why are they doing this again? But the entertainment and the actions came, just really swept over it. I would say as well that anyone who loved books like The Maze Runner would probably enjoy The Fifth Wave as well. It's that kind of book. There's a lot of unexplained stuff, but it's pacey and there's lots of action. Probably not suitable for the young reader. There's a bit of sexual content. There's some romance. There's plenty of violence and gore and guns. So, I'd say probably, 14, 15 plus.
I believe there is an F-bomb as well, as I recall. So.
Oh, okay. Well picked. Yeah.
Picked. I think. I'm pretty sure.
Well,
towards the end.
Since you listen to them, that probably comes across
as those.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a little bit more for sure. Any other points as a reader? Because I'm all out of those.
As a reader, interestingly sort of, taken by the whole action-packed thing, and then all of a sudden we're in this kind of coy love story element where Cassie is, I suppose it's a little bit of a spoiler, really. She's maybe on the verge of bleeding to death. And then suddenly wakes up and there's this sort of guardian angel with the chocolatey eyes who just bathes her and looks after her. And she describes it well as being creepy, she, the character. But it was kind of a little bit of a jolt as a reader, and it took me a while to warm to that because we'd had so much action up until that point. It really was a dystopian survival thriller. And then all of a sudden it's a love story. So be prepared for that if you're reading it. I'd still say persevere. I still think it's a worthy, and as you said, it's entertaining.
Yeah, it's definitely a worthy read. So as a writer, I don't know, maybe I've read too much dystopian and sci-fi, and I just thought it was a little predictable. I mean, of course, the guy getting trained is going to be Ben Parrish, who she's already mentioned 5 times. Of course, the guy who saves her, I mean, spoiler, is going to be different. I mean, it didn't necessarily diminish my enjoyment, but it was a little paint by numbers. I think I might have liked the setup more than the payoff. I think there was a lot of stuff building.
Yes.
And then everything that you thought was going to happen, there weren't really any twists after. There were some twists in the beginning, but then the second half, it was all, if you had to sit down halfway through the book and write down, what do you think is going to happen the rest of this book? You would get really close to what does happen in the rest of the book.
Hey, yeah.
Those are my thoughts.
That's a really interesting point, because one of the things that I try to force myself to do is include moments that I call I didn't see that coming, and I actually note them when I'm writing and scribbling. I say, yeah, I didn't see that coming, and you're dead right. There's not much of I didn't see that coming in the latter half of the book. And that is what makes a great story, I think. I'm not saying my stories are great, but I think that's part of what makes up a great story, is that with good foreshadowing that's subtle enough that you don't guess, and you think, well, it's something to do with this, but I don't know how it's going to turn out. And then all of a sudden it comes from a left field. That's what really makes some of these action thriller dystopian adventures a lot of fun to read. So yeah, that's very true. Even though it's action packed towards the end, it's kind of predictable. Some of the reviewers said the same, and in fact, I think a couple were quite pointed to say that there may even be some scenes that may have been lifted from movies written into the book. So
maybe. I mean, Steal Like an Artist, Austin Kleon's sort of thing. I mean, obviously it's different because maybe this has aliens, or maybe this has something else that makes it slightly different. I'm not against that. And I mean, there's a scene in Ted Saves the World that more or less I came up with the idea of after I watched The Avengers. And it's just an interrogation scene. And I thought, oh, this reminds me of that interrogation scene with Loki and Black Widow. So I'm just going to use that, sort of. Obviously, I made it my own thing because they're different characters completely. But sure, I think that's something you do. And I don't think as a writer it's something you should necessarily run away from. Obviously, the more you can do to make it distinct and make it your own, the better. But I'm not against that since I do it myself. So.
Well, we have a saying: you cannot not be influenced. You can't remove your influences, and inspiration is different to plagiarism, which is different to copying. So yeah, I forgave it. I enjoyed the book. I thought it was well done, and I think with some taking on board of writing craft, there's the potential for Rick to, I think, really elevate the game. That's for sure. It was
Yeah.
interesting and pulled in some different ideas. I just wish those aliens stopped mucking around. They could have just taken over the Earth and blasted everybody, and they didn't have to worry about
Yeah.
5 waves. For goodness' sake, they were just too good.
And they were like 6,000. Didn't they say at some point they've been watching for 6,000 years? I mean,
Yeah.
6,000 years ago, they could have easily done a lot. It could have been way easier to just knock off several million people and then like, oh, we're gone. It's over.
Yes.
But would you rather go first with takeaways or have me go first? Up to you.
Yeah, I'll go fast with some fast. I'll go fast. It's action packed.
Go fast.
I'll go fast and I'll go first.
Okay.
One of the takeaways for me was that if you're going to write a female character, then probably get some female input on that. There were times where, even though Cassie was believable, I really thought that the author was trying a little too hard to say, yeah, I can write women, I really can. So yeah, for me, that didn't quite gel at first, but it was okay once the action took over.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the reasons aside from her just being a really good editor, this is why my editor is a woman. Several of my beta readers are women. And I definitely sometimes get like something pointed out, maybe a descriptive term, or the way a female is acting. Nope, that's wrong. And I'm grateful for the input. So,
yeah.
My takeaway, raise the stakes, because it doesn't get much higher than 7 billion people killed. I mean, that's high stakes from the beginning. So there's a lot at risk, and that allows you to tell some of the smaller stories because, there's only a few people left and her brother is somewhere and she needs to find him. That's more than like, oh, her brother is somewhere and she needs to find him. There's a lot more to that, and I think sometimes we're used to, as writers, you're kind of starting out. You want to tell a smaller story because you're worried about telling a bigger story, and I've been, I've done that myself. But go big or go home, because I think readers will really appreciate the effort you've put into telling a grand, sweeping story.
Bryan tells it like it is. Go big or go home. I couldn't agree with you more. It's have you read Donald Masters' book, Writing the Breakout Novel?
Yep.
Yeah, that was the book that convinced me to raise stakes, because I suddenly realised I was writing too timidly, and you're dead right. I mean, what's bigger than 7 billion people wiped off the face of the earth and just a few left, and how are they going to defeat the aliens, which they don't do in the end of this book. I mean, it's left open.
It's a series.
We love to review these series, don't we, Bryan? Shall I go with my last takeaway?
Okay, go for it.
Speaking of how the stakes are raised, I would love to have seen more drip feeding on the alien motivation. There was some big cliches in there with the grandness of it. Yeah, aliens are coming to take over the world because they want it for their own purposes. But why are they taking so long? They seem to have these incredible powers. They use some very strange techniques, like dropping skyscraper-sized iron rods into fissures in the Earth's crust. Okay, why did they choose all that? Yeah, lots of questions posed, and maybe they're going to be answered in further parts of the series. But I would love to have seen more of that web put together with...
tangle the web.
I guess I'm asking for the perfect book. You know me, Bryan.
I demand the perfect book every time for this podcast.
Well, you're not going to get it from Robert Scanlon.
No.
But yeah, I think, and there are other things. Cassie seems to wield an M16 like she's lived in the Middle East all her life. So there are some things you think, yeah, okay, right, but it's okay. It was fun, and I'll go back to what you said right at the start, which is this is an entertaining book. It's similar to the style and pace to The Maze Runner, so just go read it and learn from it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. So I've got a prompt of the week.
Ooh.
And this prompt is, what would you do if you were the last human on Earth? How would you spend your days and how would you survive?
There we go. You see, even a cliche prompt is going to get you thinking.
Exactly. And it's definitely a cliche prompt. So if you want to respond to this prompt, respond in the comments on YouTube. You could put it in an iTunes review, but you could also put it in the comments on the splitbookreviews.com for episode 14. And we would love to see you write out this story. You could even just write it for yourself, write a whole darn novel off of it, and then we could be reviewing your book sometime later in years 2 and 3 of The Split. But yeah, we would love to hear from you, and you can always send us an email at our contact form on the splitbookreviews.com. Any other thoughts, Robert?
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Leaving a short story as a review in iTunes. The only problem with that, we can't respond to them. So probably better on YouTube or on the website itself, as Bryan said. But yeah, get in there, send us some stuff. Just do it. It's good fun. I mean, start anywhere. Even if you've been thinking for the last 15 years. What if you're only 15? Okay, if you've been thinking for the last couple of years, I want to start writing some of this young adult stuff. I love it. I love these books. Just do it. Just start. Everyone starts somewhere.
Yep, I agree. Good motivation from Robert Scanlon right there.
It's early in the day,
Bryan. He's taking his own advice.
Yes, that's right.
All right. So this has been The Split, and we're really glad that you tuned in on either iTunes or YouTube. Please leave a review, a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And for Robert Scanlon of the Dreamer Chronicles, I'm Bryan Cohen of Ted Saves the World. Please come back next time, and we will see you next week with another book review.
Watch out for those aliens. They're coming.
Thank you guys for watching. Somewhere on this page is a subscribe button to the Split channel. We do reviews every week. We would love it if you followed us every single week. Isn't that right, Robert?
That's exactly right. Follow us now. Hit the subscribe button.
Do it.